Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka SavageTechman. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Geek Homeworld. I'm your host, Ed, aka SavageTechman. And yeah, it's been a while. It's been almost a month since our last episode. I've actually been busy with some projects related to sound. And if you've watched our Geek Homeworld feed, you've probably seen I've launched a radio show. And I haven't turned it into a podcast, but it does have a YouTube channel, but it's called Savannah on Film. And you can follow that on Facebook if you'd like to go there and like that page. That would be awesome. And or you can listen live on the radio if you're here in Savannah on 107.5 FM. Also, there is a YouTube channel where you can listen to the previously recorded live interviews that I've done, and that's called Savannah on Film. So if you're interested in the film community here, Savannah's got one of the biggest ones in the country, you know, if not the world, but definitely the country. And you'll have to forgive my phone. My phone's making a bit of noise here. I'm charging it off of the lithium-ion batteries that go with my professional sound mixing equipment, so it came in very handy here. And I'm having to do that because we had a late afternoon thunderstorm here, and reports in our area here in Savannah that on the islands that there was a funnel cloud tornado, and that's a scary thing. I was here in the house and watching the news and working on some things online, and I've actually been trying to experiment with a live stream broadcast of Geek Homeworld on YouTube, our channel there. So kind of doing that and everything. And so anyhow, I was just checking a notice there. I'm getting all these weather alerts, but I think the worst of the storm has passed. But anyway, so the lights went out. It was just really kind of crazy. Hopefully no one's hurt, no one's injured or anything. I don't think there was an actual tornado touchdown, but somebody did see a funnel cloud. So, don't know. I'll have to let you know in another episode. But that's not why you're here. Anyway, you're here to talk about geek stuff. And on this particular episode, I really want to talk about probably one of the best, definitely most anticipated for me, movies of 2018. And other than Avengers Infinity War, which is spectacular, Black Panther was spectacular, there's a lot of good movies that I've seen this year and some not so good. I saw Mission Impossible Fallout, and I want you to know, went to the Thursday night show of that last night as the recording of this, and it was awesome. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. It's probably going to end up in my top 10 movies, or doggone it, it's going to be very close. Talk about wall-to-wall action. Say what you want about Tom Cruise, but I think he's a brilliant businessman when it comes to the film industry, how he gets his percentage of profits. He's a shrewd businessman in that sense, so kudos to him. But it's just like when you watch the other movies like Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol, where I think Ghost Protocol was really the one for me that was one of my favorites of the entire franchise. And this is the sixth film in 23 year franchise. So, you know, films are kind of spread out a little bit. But the very first couple ones, Mission Impossible 1 and 2, of course, and even 3, they were very much of the formula of the original series with Ethan Hunt and everything. And they still stick to that formula, but they've almost reinvented themselves when they got to Ghost Protocol, and then Rogue Nation was awesome. Rogue Nation was the one where he's hanging out the airplane. Ghost Protocol is where they were in Dubai, hanging off the building there. And I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free for this particular episode of the podcast. For those of you that haven't seen it, since today is Friday, opening day. And you've heard me talk about MoviePass on the podcast before. We had another debacle with them. And breaking news today, found out that MoviePass might be going under. They are struggling. Their stock fell to like a penny today. So was very upset, went to the theater. I'm paying the monthly fee. It's like $20 a month, and you can see a certain amount of movies and this and that. And they've been changing their business model and trying to stay afloat. And I hope they make it, but I don't think they will. Now we see AMC Stubs is starting their own thing. So shout out to Regal, the cinema that we went to. They honored our ticket and we were able to get in and see the movie. So that was pretty awesome of them. And the managers there at Regal, at my local Regal cinema here in town, were spectacular. So a shout out to them for going above and beyond what they even had to do, because that's a third party vendor. So that kind of spoiled it going in. And me and the wife were none too happy. Our friends were already in the theater and we had to update the app and everything. MoviePass, I hope you can pull it together. I've already shouted out to you on social media today, and a little upset with the fact that you keep changing your business model. I know you guys are trying to stay afloat, get new members, et cetera, but it's so crazy. Like, I did an episode back where I was talking about the pros and cons of it, and I was in love with the idea of MoviePass. I had seen it online. Some friends of mine had said, hey, you ought to check this out. And I said, okay, I love going to the movies. And it seemed almost too good to be true. And it's been a rocky experience at best with MoviePass. And it really came to a head when I went to go see another movie previously. I think might have been Jurassic Park I had to pay for because I couldn't get in, and there was another movie because the app took forever to download. Part of that may have been my phone's fault, but they keep doing all these updates and keep changing things, and they adding surcharges and such. So MoviePass, I'm not very happy with you guys today, but I guess I can understand why. So hopefully you'll do something. So basically, as of today, until further notice, I think they posted on their website that, or social media, that nobody essentially can use MoviePass right now until they're able to secure the funds or whatever, I guess to keep afloat or whatever. So I'm not for bashing people. I'm really not a negative person in that way. I really don't like to speak that way about things, but if you have a service and your service isn't working, then, you know, you got to do something to figure it out. So MoviePass, I hope you get it together. And if not, I'm looking at AMC Stubs. I think I'm already a member, but, you know, going into their program, they're kind of doing the same model. So I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But the thing we're here to talk about, besides possible tornado touchdowns or funnel clouds spotted, I'm sitting here with the blinds open. It's still daylight where I'm at when I'm recording here at the studio here, but it got eerily calm during the storm, and it's so weird. So just a kind of crazy Friday afternoon. I was hoping to watch online, for any of you geeks out there that are science geeks, the longest lunar eclipse of this century is occurring now as we speak today. And I'm sorry, it's a little dark in here. I turn my little flashlight on here. Oh, it's got a strobe light. It's not a disco. So this is July 27th when I'm recording this. And I was hoping to see that NASA coverage, to see that also today. I was hoping to witness that, some of the lunar eclipse. And I know it'll be online, a replay of it, but wanted to catch some of that live. So I was watching a few different feeds that I follow online with that. So now the power's out. Hopefully it'll be back. It's been out for about maybe an hour, probably get another hour from what I'm understanding. And that is understandable with the bad weather we're having. My thoughts and prayers go out to everybody out west in the United States and even into Greece and areas of like Rome, I believe. in that area where there are just terrible fires going into Yellowstone. And on the East Coast, it's been a story of, like in Pennsylvania and places like that, moisture. So the west coast of the country is on fire and the east coast is flooded. So it's kind of topsy-turvy. The world's turned upside down, and we've got the longest lunar eclipse of this century. So there's some geeky things, but let's talk about, without too many spoilers, let's talk about Mission Impossible Fallout. And no, it's not the game Fallout that I play, that I enjoy, but there's Fallout, and I'm going to just call spoiler alert in case you hadn't seen it, but I'm really not going to go into great detail in this episode. But if you're doing something this week and you need to go out and see it, the projections are that this movie could do as high as $75 million, which would be the biggest opening ever for Tom Cruise. I think actually a little bit lower than that would be his biggest opening weekend ever. And this is certainly the most amount of theaters that the movie's been in. I think it's set a record for movies, or definitely at least for the Mission Impossible franchise. So it's going to be in more theaters than any other Mission Impossible movie has been in, when it came out. So that's going to help. I will admit the 7 o'clock, we went to like the 7:05 show last night at Regal, and the theater was a smaller theater. It was half empty. It was more than half empty. There was probably a handful of people there. So I hope most people are going today. Now, locally with the storms, they've kind of passed. I think they're probably over, hopefully, minus, maybe a tornado or a scare of it. Hopefully the power comes up before dark here. And anyway, so I'm hoping that the audiences will go out and see it locally and otherwise. I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. I've always been a big Tom Cruise fan. I think he's still one of the last bankable stars action-wise. I mean, The Rock is very bankable. And I tell you, stuff you've seen The Rock do, I'm not trying to compare and contrast or say one is better, but I'm telling you, there is more action than maybe Infinity War, more action than Black Panther, yes, more action than any movie I've seen all year in Mission Impossible Fallout. That's how good this movie is. And, sometimes I watch a movie and I don't like it and it has to grow on me. Solo is an example, and that's a whole nother story there. Hopefully things are turning around once we get to episode 9, but that's for another podcast episode. But with Mission Impossible Fallout, the entire cast, Angela Bassett, oh my gosh, such a powerful performance. Henry Cavill, who knew that Justice League, even though it did great numbers, but everybody considers it an absolute failure and maybe one of the worst superhero movies just because how chopped up it was, until we see maybe a completed, if there's any way possible, the Snyder Cut. Oh, there's more weather alerts. I'm sorry. With all of the things going on, I just don't know that anything can top this movie in the sense of action. I mean, Avengers Infinity War was great. Black Panther was great. I mean, Infinity War is probably at this point one of the best movies I've seen. It really paid off in so many ways, and I can't wait for Avengers 4, but I was extremely excited with Mission Impossible Fallout. And then, like I was saying before I got a little interrupted there, was the fact that sometimes I'll go to movies and I'll be like, oh gosh, it's okay, and I really want to like this movie. I've really tried to keep my expectations low on a lot of films that I know I'm going to be excited about. And then I saw another film recently that came out, I think last week, The Equalizer 2, and I know it's still out there in theaters, and Denzel Washington, what a wonderful performance. It had a lot of action, but Mission Impossible Fallout, by far the best action movie. It's better than some of the Fast and Furious movies. It's that good. The action is just intense. To see, it's almost become a thing now to see what Tom Cruise is going to do. Mission Impossible Fallout just had incredible action. I mean, the trailer looks great. The trailer doesn't give the whole movie away, which is great, but it really pays off the action. The story has been a little bit simplified, even though, and my wife has not seen any, which I couldn't believe, any of the Mission Impossible movies, and I think she still liked it. I'll have to get her opinion on it, but she sat through the movie and seemed pretty engaged in it, and I was very engaged. And even though there was a small audience in our particular showing of it, there were some people that were kind of cheering, and they were cheering on, and there was an older than I. I'm 48, so there was an older couple sitting a few rows from us, and then there was another couple or a group of people over there, and there were some younger people, probably in their 20s, watching it, and some people a few rows behind us, and they were cheering at parts of the movie. It was almost like I was in Infinity War, even though Infinity War is incredible, and it's probably going to take a lot for that not to be my number one movie of the year. Just saying, I tried to keep my expectations low for that, and Infinity War wrapped up so many storylines and brought a lot of questions to the forefront there also in that process, but I was not upset at all by Infinity War. I think it took 10 years of storytelling. It did Infinity War did what DC could not do. So Marvel did what DC could not do. They tried to, the whole story. They tried to build Justice League and then change it halfway through the production. And whether Zack Snyder left for personal reasons and or got fired from the project, we'll never know. But it doesn't matter. I still want to see the Snyder cut of Justice League. I enjoyed the movie, but it just was, like Batman versus Superman did so well. And I want to see Henry Cavill in a role film roles beyond just being Superman. I don't want him to get totally typecast. And I'll tell you, he plays I can't say good or bad guy. I'll just say, I won't say anything because that is kind of spoiler-ish. So I'll probably just spoil it there by not telling you what the spoiler was, but he plays a very powerful performance. And even against Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise is a little bit, shorter dude, and Henry Cavill is just built, and he's a little bit more intimidating looking, but Tom Cruise can hold his own. He is a great actor. I saw American Made, which was partly made here or near here. So, there's a fire engine in the background or ambulance or something. So hopefully everything's okay in the town. But I'm going to get this episode out because I was going to record this. This was going to be a video episode on the Geek Homeworld YouTube channel, but that didn't work out. And with no power and no cable, I guess I could do it. But my laptop, it's on battery saver now, and I'm running off the juice of my recorder here, and charging my phone, so I can be in contact with the world. And it's charging nicely. I keep getting special weather statements on my phone, so the phone keeps blowing up there. Not literally. But anyhow, it was good to see Henry Cavill have such a strong performance. Vin Rames is great. Simon Pegg, wonderful. Him and Simon Pegg brings a lot of the comedy. Vin Rames does the same. Like I said, Angela Bassett was just awesome. Alec Baldwin was very powerful and very good in Mission Impossible Fallout, his character. And there are so many twists and turns in this movie. You definitely need to go out and see it. Go out, support the movie, let it be a big hit this weekend that it deserves to be. Give Tom Cruise his biggest opening ever. I'm ready for Mission Impossible 7, but Tom's getting up there in his age, comparatively, and it's amazing that he is so fit and he does such wonderful job at being his own stuntman. And I was just seeing some stuff online, and I was like, wow, it's amazing that he's doing stuff on a level that maybe a 20-year-old actor wouldn't do. It's amazing, and he's an amazing actor. I just think he's one of the greatest action adventure people. He originally was possibly one of those being considered for the role of Iron Man before Robert Downey Jr. kind of got the job. And there's some talk arising again that maybe in the Green Lantern Corps movie, which Comic-Con just happened. Anyway, with that happening, the talk has come up that maybe Henry Cavill, who had such a wonderful time, he said, working with Tom Cruise and working with the whole group on the movie Mission Impossible Fallout, that maybe those rumors are, the director, I saw an interview where he said, he'd take a crack at Man of Steel too. And so Henry Cavill would like to bring Tom Cruise in on it. And that would be interesting to get Tom Cruise in the DC universe, but if he's not going to be in the Marvel universe, but you don't have to be in either one, but doggone it, that star power is pretty important. So hopefully seeing that will be a good thing. I wouldn't mind, I don't know that he'd be Iron Man, or if he'd go to DC, probably go to DC. That's probably, somehow he could even be a bad guy. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see Tom Cruise be the bad guy. I mean, he could do it. He's done some films that were not typical Tom Cruise roles. And so I find his action films just to be like the best in the Mission Impossible films. It's good that he's stuck with those. I mean, they are by a formula to an extent, and just the unbelievable, but the unbelievable is so astounding in this film. And I can't really say enough about Mission Impossible Fallout, other than that you've got to go see it, and it's just that good. So Mission Impossible Fallout, definitely a movie that you should see. On a different note, kind of shifting gears here, I was helping promote, and I had a more elaborate plan, and it did not work out, but there are some friends of mine, and they work in the film industry, and I was trying to get some groundswell support, and they were raising money to, they had a GoFundMe. They were raising money to make a trip to go see the costume creators. They have a cosplay group, and I may have them here on the podcast. I originally had planned to do that, but those plans kind of fell apart a little bit. I couldn't line up a location along with our schedules and such, and still may have them on in some form or another. But they had an amazing, life-changing journey. They're a cosplay group. They've cosplayed for like Power Rangers and stuff like that, and they did, in this case, Black Panther cosplay, and they had been featured on some tweets and all that by some of the costume makers and people in the Marvel universe, like the costume designer and them, that ahead of making all these Black Panther costumes and designing them and everything, really came through for them, and they were able to raise the money, which was awesome. And they went out to San Diego Comic-Con 2018. They had the time of their lives. They posted a lot on social media about it, and I know I was just a small little part, and I'm not trying to take credit here at all. It's not ego or anything, but I did really want to support this great group of people, and I haven't worked with them on movies locally here, but a few of them have worked on some films, and I'm not going to go into great detail who they are yet, but they made the news out there in San Diego, and they were on, if you watch the Marvel live feed from San Diego Comic-Con, you saw them dressed as Black Panther, and I think they won some awards or got some honorable mentions for their cosplay, and they got to meet the creators, and they did some streaming, I think, on Facebook and other mediums, social media, about their experience there at Comic-Con, and it was just life-changing. And so that's just pretty awesome. So true geeks there, they're really trying to help people by doing their cosplay, and in the sense that they're bringing hope and especially to the community that's not been serviced so well in the past in films. Black Panther was it was a great Marvel movie, one of the best. Some people say the best. I'm still a little partial to the first Iron Man and a few others in there, and maybe Civil War, and probably my favorite is Infinity War at this point. But I did love Black Panther. It was a great movie, but it was more of a cultural phenomenon, and we talked about that on episodes. You can go and listen here on Geek Homeworld, geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. And there goes the power. I think the power's back on. Yay. About 15 or 20 minutes ahead of when Georgia Power said it would come back on. So, yay, we have power. And there was light. So, anyhow, that's a good sign. These cosplayers, they went out there in San Diego Comic-Con, and they just really represented. And I'm just so proud of them that, they got to fulfill a dream. And this is only the beginning for them. So, to all the people that helped them out, family and friends and movie friends and everyone else, it's just great to really get behind a cause. And it was life-changing for them. They're so empowering. And the movie Black Panther was so empowering to the African-American community, people of color. It certainly is something that is even beyond my understanding, to how important that is. Like Wonder Woman being so popular is another example we talked about on the podcast before. To see these strong female characters, Captain Marvel movie with Brie Larson, but Marvel is going to be great. Fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty good. And it's going to be kind of big. So it's good to see these roles, these non-traditional roles. The mold has changed. Hollywood is wide open. Anything can happen. And it's good to see these strong characterizations, positive, strong personifications of people of color in film, females in film, etc. So totally applaud that. And we need more of that. So Mission Impossible had, and I'm forgetting a few of the actors, actresses in the film Mission Impossible Fallout, but the female characters were strong characters. They just weren't there. They weren't damsels in distress. They were as important to the plot as the other characters, and that's so good to see. That's such a good thing. So if you get a chance to go out, I'm going to wrap things up now here on the podcast here. But I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. Sorry I've been away so long. I've been working on things behind the scenes. My radio show, Savannah on Film, is doing very well. It's been well received, and it's been very exciting. It kind of was an idea that a childhood dream, actually. And we talk about following dreams, how Black Panther is inspiring to people of color to see people that look like them on the big screen, being positive role models and doing wonderful things. The same thing goes in a way for fulfilling your own dreams in your own life. And me being on radio was always this childhood thing that I always wanted to do. I pretended when I was younger to have my own radio station. I pretended to have my own TV station. I know it's kind of crazy, but it's something I always wanted to do. In my love of sound, I became a professional sound mixer, so I'm doing well at that. And now I'm a radio show host. I never thought that could ever happen to me. So I'm a small example in this big constellation of people that your dreams can come true if you follow them. In between all of this going on, so what's been going on the last month? I had a lot of family issues, May, especially June and July. I lost one of my favorite uncles of all time. Kind of shocking. It was shocking when it happened. You're never prepared for that. And, God rest his soul. Miss him. But besides that, I was able to help his daughter, Tabatha, launch her podcast, and it's called Transformed by Transplant. So just a plug here, she's a double transplant survivor. She has a very powerful story. So if you're looking for a podcast that has some depth to it, that really is not just gut-wrenching, but very uplifting. Her story is a fascinating story, and she's been wanting to tell it for a long time, and I've been kind of nudging her in the right direction at times when I could, and not taking credit for her success at all. I'm the sound guy and the kind of technical guru there, helping her along, but it's her voice, it's her power, it's her situation, her life, and she's telling her story in a very honest way. And you can check it out. It's on iTunes, called Transformed by Transplant. You can go to the website, and I don't have all the links here. I will soon, but it's basically just search for Transformed by Transplant. Should be in Google Podcast. You can find Geek Homeworld in there also, but Transformed by Transplant. And there's a Facebook page. You can go there and like the Facebook page. There's another weather alert. Oh dear. Anyway, so check out, if you got time and you're interested, Transformed by Transplant. Let's see if we can support her and get a community growth, a groundswell around her podcast. She's new to podcasting, but she's got a wonderful message. And so I got to be the technical side of it and helping her out. And she's done very well. And it's a process, but if she wants me on, I may be a guest on there. I would not mind doing that. She's a wonderful person. She's a survivor. She's definitely a strong female character. Not character per se, but I guess we can all be characters in a way. But she's a strong woman who stands in her own power, and very proud of her, my cousin Tabatha. And check out her podcast called Transformed by Transplant. So go like the Facebook page, check it out on iTunes. It's on Google Podcasts. It should be by now. If not, you guys know how to search that internet, right? Anyway, so I've been helping with that podcast. Had some family issues, some serious ones, and that have been very difficult, but life does go on. You got to continue on and follow your passions, follow your dreams. This is my 10th year of podcasting. September 9th, I think, will be 10 years of podcasting. It will also be 10 years ago. I started podcasting with Geek Homeworld. Excuse me, not with Geek Homeworld. That will be 4 years, September 4th or 9th. I have to look it up. It escapes me now, and the internet's down, so my phone's going slow. But 10 years ago, I started podcasting. Now I'm a radio host, a podcaster, a sound mixer. Never thought I'd be a sound mixer. Never thought I'd work in movies. And I've been able and blessed enough to do that, to have those opportunities, to meet some fascinating people on my show, Savannah on Film. I get to interview and talk to a lot of my movie friends and meet the movers and shakers here in town and around Savannah that are changing and making better the Savannah film community. And people are involved in Atlanta and different areas in Georgia, but mainly focus on Savannah. So I've got the radio show for that, and YouTube channel for the replays of those interviews. So I've got a lot going on. So I've been doing a lot of things creatively. I'm still playing. My new toy is, I was trying to learn OBS, and I think I pretty much got to a point of doing that. I was working on green screen. In fact, there's a wall in our house that has a nice painting, and my wife was getting on me because I finally took the green screen down. I kind of gave up on that. I had this green cloth covering the painting in the wall where I'd use as the backdrop. And then I've tried some hits and misses on the video and trying to get that going, and it's not worked out the way I'd planned. And so I've gone on to Streamlabs OBS, and so that there's like a few more things. I'm so close to figuring that out. I like to figure out things, and I watch videos, YouTube videos, or just tinker around with software and different things until I figure out what I'm doing. So I'm excited about that. And with that, I think that's the wife calling. So thank you for listening to Geek Homeworld. I'm your host, Ed, SavageTechman, and I guess we're going to go out on that music. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, SavageTechman. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+. Follow and interact with us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes and leave a review, subscribe to us on YouTube, read our thoughts on Blogger. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.